Welcome back to the Sports Playbook. You're joined by your host Demos. If you haven't already, please follow us on all social platforms. This podcast is designed for your commute. I hope you enjoyed the first episode of Inside the Playbook with Olivia Coleman. We're back for episode 2, so something must have worked in that respect. Without further ado, I'd love to introduce my next guest on Inside the Playbook. My guest specialises in a high level in triathlon. Mark Pacey, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, mate. Good on you.
Really appreciate you coming on.
Thanks for having me, and congratulations on the podcast. I did listen to your first episode, and it was fantastic, so thank you.
No worries at all. So I guess before we get started, I'm actually going to throw some quick fire questions to you.
Okay. Yeah.
Didn't brief you on this one.
No, thanks very much.
But I guess it's just to give listeners a bit of a sense of who you are, what you do, and what you like.
Right.
So firstly, tomato sauce, in or out of the fridge?
In the fridge.
In the fridge, very nice. Summer or winter?
Summer.
Yeah.
No question.
Yeah, I feel like that's definitely a vibe. Cats or dogs?
Dogs.
Yeah.
100%.
One was just barking before, but it's quietened down a little bit.
Yes, yeah.
Sleep in or an arvo nap?
Definitely no sleep in. And I don't mind an afternoon nap. Yeah, afternoon nap for sure.
Yeah, nice. And then very much in your field, swim, bike or run?
Preference?
Yeah.
That's a really hard question because I love them all.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say I love the bike.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like you're pretty good at that one.
Well, yeah, I it's surprising actually because I haven't always loved the bike. So,
really?
but I do now. So yeah.
Why haven't you?
I always thought it was the hardest thing. You know, and it probably goes right back to to my childhood because I was always a swimmer and a runner. Yeah. But I never got on the bike. I mean, we rode bikes and things, but but when I jumped into triathlon, the bike was always the hardest. But now it seems like it's one of my strengths. So I love the bike.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
And you touched on your childhood there, which I think is just a perfect segue.
Right.
I'd love to get to know a bit more about you. I was lucky enough to meet you, I'd say 14 or 15 years ago.
Yeah.
But I don't really know much about your childhood, your upbringing. So would you be able to share some insight into like what that was for you and where you grew up?
Yeah, sure. I'm a Sydney born and bred. Family, mum and dad are both teachers. Brother and sister, so they're both younger than me. Yep. We had a great childhood. We pretty close family. We did a lot of things together. Different holidays and things like that. I guess the work ethic was really high in our family from mum and dad. They sort of set that standard, I guess. From a child, I loved just getting into sports, and a lot of team sports. I mean, even in the area where I grew up, we had, this is a bloody long time ago, right? But we had, I reckon, 6-7 families in our street where we all just used to, and all around the same ages, guys and girls. And we used to, converge in the middle of the street for cricket, for, rugby league, for playing golf. We did everything outdoors.
Yeah.
We used to go from one person's place to another for a swim, for a sandwich, and we'd just go from one day to another, and eat up all the food in each of the house. It was good fun, and we had a ball. But I mean, a lot of my childhood was around sport. So growing up, it was doing any sport that I possibly could. I loved school, but I loved going to school to see my mates and to play sport with them, and loved it. Yeah.
So you mentioned there, like both your parents were teachers there, and like you said, like school for you, like it was great to see your mates. Did you ever feel like any pressure to do really well in school because your parents are teachers and you obviously loved the sporting side of it? Did you ever feel any pressure to perform academically, or did your parents let you kind of do what you wanted to do with sport?
No, they were really supportive. My mum, in particular, was really supportive of my sport, and drove us around everywhere. My brother and my sister. So no. I don't think there was any pressure to do well academically. In fact, I used to get my mum to do my homework so I could go and do more sport. True story. But there was never any pressure. But I think there was an element of you just work hard, and you do the do the little things, and try and do them, as best that you can. That was probably the main thing.
Yeah. And what for you? What were those key sports that you really specialised in, or you really just enjoyed at school?
Oh, look, I loved anything Daniel liked.
Yeah.
I love cricket. Cricket was key. It's I loved the track. Used to run 400, 800, 1500. Used to love that swimming. Used to just love the competition.
Yeah.
Then moving into rugby league, soccer. Used to play a lot of soccer, and then moved into rugby league and then rugby union. Enjoyed all of those things. So whether it be individual sports or team sports, I was into it. No question. Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah. Was there one that that captured your attention or really stood out to you?
Cricket was. I was all in.
Yeah.
That was pretty full on for a long time in my younger, up until sort of 17.
Yeah.
That was what I wanted to do. That's what I wanted to be. Didn't work out that way.
Yeah.
And then I sort of shifted, but along the way, cricket was probably the standout. But even so, all those things around athletics and swimming, I did them anyway because I loved doing it. And it helped me keep fit for what I was doing. So, that was an added value or added benefit.
Yeah, and you mentioned with cricket there, that was probably the one that got you to the highest level or up towards there. Where did that take you? What kind of stage or?
I played junior New South Wales representative, so state representative up through 15, 16, 17.
Right.
And then played in Sydney grade cricket and some representative stuff there. So that was but that was probably the level.
Yeah.
And didn't go any further than that. And I think I played a lot of it from a young age, and I did a lot of it. And I think a couple of injuries along the way, and then fell out of I guess love with the sport. Still like watching it and what have you, but I bowled enough overs and spent enough time out in the field to move on and move on to other things. Yeah.
It's probably an interesting point that you put there, because I guess from a junior perspective, if you're really good at something, you'll continue to push it. But you mentioned there that you almost you fell out of love with the game for cricket. Could you tell me a bit about that side of it? Because I feel like a lot of kids growing up will go into these sports and they'll really enjoy it, but then they'll fall out of love of it, or they won't touch it again because of their past experiences with it. Could you touch on, I guess, how you dealt with that?
Yeah. I just think it was just it was the intensity that I went into it. I was all in, even as a young kid, and it was just constantly over and over again. And I love to challenge myself, even then, and I used to give me the ball and let me bowl until, from day one, from first thing in the morning through to the end of the afternoon. So I'd go and bowl 20, 30 overs in a day, no problem, as a 14, 15-year-old. But I think that catches up with you at times. And then, you get little niggles and little injuries and not managing them well and not knowing how to manage those well. Did the best we could at the time. But I think those things sort of get in their way a little bit as well. How you manage that. And it started to me, maybe the other part for me was that I had so many other interests as well. Because at the same time I was playing a bit of rugby league and rugby union, so that was quite good, and so I had other things that I could do, and so I was okay with that, and I actually enjoyed those other sports, but from a cricket perspective, it was more a case of, I'd had enough, and just probably too much, constantly over time trying to do it at with too much intensity, which says I'm going to turn the other way.
Yeah, let's show you one photo in particular. Not sure if you'll be able to remember this. You ready?
Yeah, sure. I might need my glasses, but anyway.
It's alright.
Oh, jeez. That's,
Where was this and what was happening in here?
Seriously, that was in year 12.
Right.
Year 12 at high school, so a long time ago, 1989.
Yeah.
And that was after the HSC, the high school certificate, and I walked into so this is the academic in me.
Yeah.
And so was doing I can't believe you pulled that out, like seriously.
Yeah, I have some sources.
It ended up on the front page of the Sydney Morning Herald,
really?
because we walked into a high school final exam, and I'm sitting down in the exam trying to, get my thoughts and do the best that I could.
Yeah.
And I get the paper, the exam paper, and I'm looking at it, and I didn't understand anything on there.
Yeah.
Nothing. And so I sat there for a bit, and I'm like, okay, I thought I'd studied a little bit for this. I should know some of this, but I had no idea what it was saying. I'm like, this is a bit of a problem.
Yeah.
So I put the hand up, and one of the exam supervisors comes down and asked what the problem was. And I said, well, I've got the wrong paper. And they said, well, no, you've got the right paper, and you should have studied for this, and off you go, and dismissed me. Well, okay, so I started to answer this paper, and I've got no idea what I'm talking about. It was modern history.
Right.
And anyway, cut through to it.
Yeah. 15
minutes later, they came down and pulled us all out of the exam because they had made a mistake, and they did give us the wrong paper. And that was the HSC. So anyway, the reason that photo that you put up there was the other couple of guys in there. They ended, someone rang the newspaper.
Yeah. And
next thing you know, we had reporters coming in looking for a story around the HSC. And all the hard, they were interviewing us about what it meant for us, and I think I was quoted in there as saying, I put all my effort into this, and it comes down to being given the wrong paper, and how's this going to affect my future? Little did we know that I put zero effort in terms of that exam. I was out there playing cricket and swimming and going to the beach whilst in study break. It was quite interesting, trying to answer some of those questions when I knew, it wasn't going to make that much difference to my result.
It's I didn't know the backstory behind that, so thank you for that. So it's probably it's a good time. You've finished year 12.
Yep.
You've obviously participated in cricket at a very high level, representing state. I guess what was next for you? Like where did your life next take you to at this point?
Yeah, I mean, well, it took me into a number of different areas, in and around, I guess, career and or lack thereof at the time. So, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I deferred university. Decided that I just wanted to go and experience a few things and tried different opportunities and jobs, and I had some of those, which was good. But I still wanted to to play sport. So I went and played rugby. I started playing rugby in Sydney in grade rugby for Southern District, Souths.
Right.
But then quickly realised that really wasn't going to work for me.
Okay.
But I loved keeping fit, and I loved testing myself. I always I loved that aspect of the rugby and the training, and I'd train hard. Anyhow, that ended up leading into trying my first triathlon. Back in 1991, I think it was, in 1990, and the Nike series in Kona here in Sydney. I ended up doing triathlon for a little bit, and I loved it. Enjoyed it. Got fit from doing it whilst I was trying different jobs and figuring my way through as to what I was going to do. So it sort of kicked me into the triathlon side of things reasonably early.
What I mean, I'm lucky to experience what triathlon is like now. What did that landscape look like back in the 90s? Like what was it like participant wise? What was it like atmosphere wise?
Oh, it was, yeah, I mean, it was great. It was, really, it was certainly not as professional as it is now, and but it was local. There was that element of community in and around it, which was great. It was just a whole lot of people who were trying this sport that I think was reasonably new. And it was organised as best they could from a volunteer perspective that put races on to bring people together and test themselves. But I think for me and I think a lot of people back then in I'm going to say the early 90s, late 80s was that feeling in our sport was around the Hawaii Ironman triathlon. On a Saturday afternoon, watching Channel 9 Wide World of Sports and seeing this grueling one-day event in the lava fields of Hawaii. And I think it was certainly up there as the holy grail, if you like. And I think it still is.
It's we'll definitely get to that point.
Sure.
It's a really pivotal point for you, and I think it really pinpointed, like, you've had that break from triathlon, and then as people eventually find out, you represented Australia on that world stage. Like, that's a incredible achievement, to say the very least.
Thank you.
That's right. And so you've done a bit of triathlon in the 90s. You said you had a bit of a break.
Yeah, I did, yeah.
How long was that break? When did you...
From doing the triathlons then to kicking it up again? About 14 years.
Okay.
So it was, I mean, there's a big gap in there, and that's where, some of the best things, obviously, for me, happened in that time where take out, different jobs and things like that, and I found my way. That was when, I got married, we had... and Lisa and I, we just racked up 30 years of marriage now, just last year. We had two fantastic kids, within that time as well. And I was dabbling in, a little bit more sport, was a little bit challenged, but I was playing a bit of OzTag. Just socially with a bunch of mates, and it was fantastic. Loved it and did it a reasonable amount. But it was all really starting to get a bit serious around, what's my responsibility and what did we want to do, what did Lisa and I want to do and achieve, career-wise and personally and what we wanted to set up. So I probably had to start thinking about what was the roles that the jobs that I wanted to do, the career that I wanted to set myself.
It's you mentioned there raising a family, and I think raising a family, obviously I haven't had that experience yet, but I'm sure it draws a lot of attention away from, I guess, your personal goals and everything else, but you look at it from a bigger perspective. Like you have two amazing kids who we're lucky to be friends with now. It opens up a new perspective for you, doesn't it? Experiencing that family life. And you're obviously into that sporting side of things, but could you explain what it's like just to, I guess, have a family of your own, just very simply put?
It's prioritisation, I think, you start to probably be more selfish in the decisions that you make without, and then start to think, okay, well, what is it that I want to create? What's the environment I want to be able to create for our family unit? And that shifts your priorities. And that's literally what Lisa and I both did, across that period. And and that's, I mean, I love doing that, I love sort of looking at it and going, well, okay, well, in the planning in and around it, and experiences that we had, it just changes your priorities, and for me the better, because it allowed me to think about who I wanted to be, as a father, as a role model, and what are the things that I wanted my kids to be able to look at me and think that hey, they can be proud of what I do. So yeah, I think it shifts priorities.
Yeah, definitely. And when during this period you're talking about shifting priorities and understanding like when's the right time to pick things up and kind of like listening to cues, I think that's also a huge thing. When did you start to go, like triathlon started to like ring in the back of your mind, or it started to come to the forefront a bit more?
Yeah, it's interesting actually, because I reckon I got unfit.
Really?
Yeah. Absolutely, I know I got unfit. So I started a corporate role, in sales. There was a fair bit of travel.
Right.
There was dinners out. There was this and I think and again I was trying to create a future in the corporate side of things.
Yeah.
And I got unfit, like simple as that, because things just dropped off a little bit and wasn't able to do I probably made choices that didn't prioritise that.
Yeah.
So it got sort of pushed to the side a little bit. I'd always do something, but what really drove me back into triathlon was the fact that hey, hang on, I've still got this burning, sort of desire to compete, and then how can I do that on my terms? And how can I do that in fitting around our family and our family goals and what we wanted to do there?
Yeah.
And then it really came back to it to say, well, actually, you know what? I can choose how I train, when I train, and where I compete. If in the sport of triathlon, which I touched on and I enjoyed, and I thought, well, I'd like to go back to it.
Yeah.
But I can do that whilst fitting it in around our family and our commitments there, but also from a work perspective, I can pick and choose how I do it and when I train that doesn't get in the way of work.
Yeah.
And there's other benefits that go along with that. So I chose, probably, it's probably about 18 years ago now, when I first, got back into it, and I, decided that I wanted to get fit again. I took a bunch of people, back then that I was working with, really good bunch of people. We decided to do the Oxfam Trail Walker, and we did that a couple of times, and that got me back into thinking, fitness wise, I'm keen, I'm competitive, I want to be competitive. What can I do? So use that as a springboard back into the running, back into the swimming, jumping on a bike again, and going, actually, you know what, I'm going to do another triathlon. So that's what got me back into it. I wanted to get fit, and that was it.
Yeah, you touched on the Oxfam Trail Walker there.
Yeah.
I've never done the 100. My father's done the 100.
Yeah.
I've done the 55, and I know what mental demons I face. So I can only imagine from your side. For people that don't know, it's a 100-kilometer trail walk.
Yeah.
You have to do it in 48 hours.
Yeah. I think it's a bit less than that, but yeah.
So you've started to get back into fitness there. You're walking during the day. You're walking during the night.
Yeah.
Were you running it at any point?
Yeah, well, we did. Yeah, we did a little bit, but it was more about team. So it was a team of 4. So that was really important to us to be able to get everybody through. So we were all. You didn't leave anyone behind, so to speak. So it wasn't so much running. We did it a couple of times. So the first time no running, it was all walking. And the second, I think I actually might have done it 3 times.
Right.
And then we started to run until as much as we could. But
what was because during the middle of the night, you've got your head torch on.
Yeah.
And fair to say, sometimes you can't see more like 2 to 3 meters ahead of you, like it's pitch black.
Yeah.
How does that play with your head in terms of like that environment? You're back into fitness. You're doing a 100-kilometer trail walk with 4 other people. How do you cope with it mentally, and what kind of strategies did you implement?
Yeah, look, I was pretty determined that I just wanted to get to the end of that 100k, and even in the training that we did, we had a couple of little trainings along the way, and some big hills that you had to climb in and around, in the bush, and doing that at night is also reasonably challenging. But I had the mindset of like, let's just get this thing done. Nothing's going to stop us, in our way. Let's just go as strong as we possibly could.
Yeah.
So there was a mindset of just get it done, and if there's any whinging and complaining around that, that wasn't going to be useful for us. So let's forget about it. It was a pretty determined mindset, I think, Daniel, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And so you did 2 to 3, so 3.
I think it was, yeah.
Let's call it 3. It
Yeah,
sounds
call it
better
3.
anyway.
Yeah.
So you've done those, and you're now back into triathlon.
Yeah.
This is around 2008, 9.
Yeah, around 2000. Yeah, it would have been probably around 2007, 8. Yeah.
And what were you doing at this point in triathlon? Like, what kind of distances were you doing?
Sprint distance. Yeah. I kicked off out at Kona. It's in the Shire in Sydney, and they had a series out there that was still going.
Wow.
From even in the early 90s. So I jumped back out there, what I knew, and decided that I'll get back into it at that level. So which was great.
How did you go in those early races? Did you feel like you picked up where you left off?
No, I didn't. No. I think it took a little bit of getting used to again. So I was fairly apprehensive too, if I'm perfectly honest. Like it wasn't. I was nervous,
right?
About getting back into it. Because I as a kid and as a sort of teenager and what have you, whatever I did, without sounding, whatever I did well.
Yeah.
In the sporting side of things, I could pick anything up and do it.
Yeah.
When I started to go back in here as a 35, 36-year-old, who hadn't done as much in probably the 5 years leading into it, I was nervous.
Yeah.
Like I wanted to be really good.
Yeah.
And I didn't know how that was going to go.
Yeah, right.
Getting back into it and actually, taking that step to enter a race and get into it was difficult.
Yeah.
It was a mindset of apprehension in some respects, nervousness, a little bit of anxiety in and around that, and it's like, okay, do I or don't I? But I did. So it was enjoyable to get back into it, and as I kept going, it was just a bit of momentum that just, kept taking over. And I haven't stopped since.
Yeah. And so you've done those races at Cornell. Where does that then takes you? What are your next steps in triathlon? Did you make the team? The Australian team? Off the back of that?
Yeah. Well, I just thought, triathlon's a great sport that you can do that, right? Like you've got opportunities that you can race the same courses as the pros. The Olympic athletes and things like that, and obviously, my time had passed, but it was really to try that.
Yeah.
And I was realistic about that, but no, it was just I started in the sprint side of things. Really just wanted to be do as many races as I could, and I was enjoying it because I could fit it in around my career, which had started to really progress, if you like.
Yeah.
So that was moving along, and then family-wise, the kids were still fairly little then, but it wasn't interfering with anything because I was doing my training when I needed to on my terms that didn't impact those that mattered to me.
Yeah.
But I could still be fit, and I was feeling so much better.
Yeah,
both physically and mentally. I was clearer in my thought process. Just things were getting better. So I ended up doing more and more sprint triathlons, and then ended up, as you say, doing some qualifying races and qualifying for the Australian team for the World Sprint Championships, which were on the Gold Coast. And loved that experience as well.
What was it like so you represented Australia on the Gold Coast.
Yeah.
What was that experience like racing in front of, let's call it, home fans?
Yeah.
And getting to represent your country?
Mate, I was scared as all hell.
Yeah.
Because I get up there into that environment, back into it, and I look at all these bikes and things around me which were super good and probably better than mine. These incredibly fit athletes, walking around all over the place, and I'm going, what am I doing here? Oh, seriously, I'm sitting. Do I belong here or not? And I was doubting myself. You're like, should I actually be here?
Yeah.
And it wasn't until, those closest to me said, well, you actually, deserve to be here.
Yeah.
So I was pretty miserable in terms of I was wound up in the lead up to that race.
Yeah.
But I did it. I experienced it.
Yeah.
And I breathed a big sigh of relief once it was over. That's the honest, truth. It wasn't a pleasant experience. It was great.
Right.
With my family there, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
And my friends, my close family and close friends were there. So
Yeah.
that was cool.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed it much better after the race than I did before the race.
Yeah. Just going back into some of the bars or chilling out with the family.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, you've represented Australia. Where do you next head after that? Because that's, I guess for some people, that's a tick the box exercise. I've achieved my goal.
Yeah.
But you don't really seem to work like that though.
I
wasn't.
wasn't.
Great respect.
Yeah, I wasn't. I think I wasn't. I wasn't stopping.
Yeah.
I had the bug, the triathlon bug. It sort of hooked me right in, and I was loving everything about the sport. And as I've said, but for me, the one thing that was really in my mind is Ironman. And I wanted to do an Ironman because to me, I go back to the Channel 9 Saturday afternoon Hawaii Ironman. The images, like I used to be glued to it and watching it.
Yeah.
And to me, it was not necessarily Hawaii, but it was do an Ironman. Like to me, it just seemed like the ultimate test of endurance in a one-day sport. So that was what I set my sights on. I said I'm going to do an Ironman by the time I was 40.
Right.
Which I set my sights to do, and started upping my training and things like that, and realised how challenging that might be. And then I did my first Ironman, so Australian Ironman triathlon. When I was in my 40th year.
Yeah. Right.
Leading into that. So that was back in 2011.
Right. And what for people that haven't experienced an Ironman,
Yep.
what does that day entail? Because there's so many highs. It's like seeing your family go past and things like that. But then there's, I'm sure, points where you're going around a bike, turn around, and you're like, why have I signed up for this?
Yeah. Oh, you go through all the emotions. So an Ironman triathlon's a 3.8 kilometre swim followed by a 180 kilometre bike and a 42 kilometre marathon run to finish it off. So it's a bloody long day. It's challenging and it's hard. It's if you don't do the work, you get found out. You go through all the different emotions from being this is great, I'm crushing it, to oh my god, I'm never coming back here again. And that's it. I'm done with the whole thing. Until you've come down that finish line and the finish chute, and you see the most important people to you, and I'm fortunate enough that they've been to every single one of my Ironman races. There's that element of pride and of real satisfaction of achievement and doing something. So that feeling for me is what keeps me going back. But that was the first one.
You mentioned bloody long day there, and you've had multiple, I guess from a triathlon point of view, you've had multiple bloody long days. We'll be touching on it, but you're now Ironman Legend. Is that right, status wise?
No, not quite.
Close.
Not quite. So I appreciate the the reference. But no, I mean, the reality is, I set myself like in this year. So really, I mean, the last couple of weeks of preparation for my 10th Australian Ironman triathlon. So once you complete 10 Ironmans, in the one place, so Australian Ironman,
Yeah.
then you are awarded legend status. So that's what I'm aiming for. And I didn't set out to do that from the very first one that I did, but it soon became that little achievement that I wanted to make a reality, and I'm a few weeks off making that happen.
Yeah. So you mentioned there you did the first one.
Yep.
What makes you want to come back and do the second?
Look, I mean, it's a really interesting one, to be honest with you. And not, so to come back to the second one, I wasn't committed.
Okay.
I did the first one, I'm like, I did an Ironman, like, fantastic, that's great.
Yeah. At
the same time, we had some health issues in the family with our son Cooper, so that certainly had an effect on my own mindset around what I was going to do and what I wasn't. So I wasn't going to go back for the second one, and I didn't go back the next year.
Right.
So I took that next year off whilst we had Cooper's health to deal with.
Yeah.
And thankfully we dealt with that. But I still wanted to go back and do something. So I ended up, what was driving me to do another one was I wanted to suffer more.
Yeah.
Like, quite honestly, that's what it was.
Right.
But that was a mindset I had then, because and the reason why I had that mindset was I knew how hard it was doing my first one.
Yeah.
I know it was a real challenge and the work that you have to put in. Then I saw my son, our son go through, some of the worst treatment that he ever had to endure, that no child should have to, in the form of cancer. And I saw him go through that and the pain that he went through. And quite honestly, my mindset was, I'm going to go out and do another Ironman because I'm going to put myself through some pain in and around that.
Yeah.
That was my way of probably coping. For probably the next couple of Ironman races that I did. That's where I was at the time.
Yeah. And thank you for sharing that, because it's not easy to talk about those challenging things, especially in your personal life as well.
No, that's fine, mate. I mean, it's interesting when you ask the question, and where I go back to and really deep inside in terms of how I'm feeling in and around that. And I started to use Ironman back then as something, yes, I wanted to tick off and do, because I personally. But then when I had that and with that experience, I wanted to use it for good. So I raised some money in my Ironman race we raised $20,000 for the Sydney Children's Hospital back in the time about 2011 or 12.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, great. So then I just wanted to do it to endure something really difficult, because that was my choice, and there's so many other there's kids that I experienced, my own son, that didn't have a choice to endure pain.
Yeah.
So it was a weird mindset, but it was just something that helped me get over that time by just punishing myself.
Yeah.
If I'm honest.
Yeah.
It shifted.
Yeah.
It shifted, and it's certainly shifted since.
I was going to say, I don't want to touch on it too much, but I think one thing I'm curious about is, you mentioned, Cooper unfortunately had cancer. Thankfully, he's okay.
Yeah, he's a survivor.
He's come out the other side truly remarkably.
Yeah.
He's a great young man. He's got a great life ahead of him now.
Yeah.
What were those nights like back at the hospital? Because you mentioned Ironman for you that second time back was putting yourself through some pain. What were you kind of going through, and how did you kind of set yourself up for what was going to be the next period of time that you didn't know how long it would be?
It was just very uncertain. It was uncertain through that whole period. And we as a family were navigating stuff that we never thought that we would have to navigate. So, in the hospital and things like that, we spent the best part of a couple of years in and out because he relapsed and what have you. But it was certainly difficult.
Yeah.
Really difficult. But through the hospital, amazing support, I give you a lot of that. And I was using exercise at the time to just clear my head.
Yeah.
I'd come home from the hospital and Lisa and I were tag teaming in there, and we obviously had Talia, that our daughter, that we she was only young then as well. So we were tag teaming, but I'd always try and get some form of training in, whether it be a short run or a short ride or a swim. It's just something to just clear my head, keep my body moving, because I needed to be as strong as I possibly could for whatever it was that we were going to do within a lot of that time. Was so uncertain that we just didn't know.
Yeah. And so you come back to do your second Ironman.
Yep.
And you say that your main purpose for doing it was to put yourself through a little bit of pain.
Yeah.
Did you feel like that Ironman was more emotionally charged, or how did you approach that second one?
Yeah, I mean, I got straight back into it, and probably a bit more along those. I was suppressing a lot of that as well, so I was sort of keeping that pretty much down here. Only probably least really knew what was happening. But my mindset was, I knew how hard it was going to be. I just needed to front up and do it, and get it done. So which is what I did, and that was probably for a couple of Ironman races after that. Things started to change when Cooper overcame that, and he went into remission and things. That was that certainly changed my mindset as well. But it was shifting a little bit, towards I love the triathlon side of it. It was less about the suffering, and it was more about achieving, and hey, you've got a chance. You've got a chance to do something here, and you've got a chance to just keep doing better and do whatever you can. On the triathlon side of it, because it was helping me a lot physically and mentally. So that was key.
Yeah. So you keep going with Ironman.
Yep.
You do multiple more, but in the background, that you've got this that emotional charge, but you're keeping it in here. But you use all that power to, I guess, create something that's done so much good, and it's called the Bloody Long Day.
Yeah.
Do you mind telling the viewers a bit about what that is and how that came about?
Yeah. Well, the Bloody Long Day was born in and around the nights that Lisa and I had, trying to do the best we could to support Cooper in the hospital. So he went through, as I said, cancer treatment, and I was sitting in there and on my iPad, just making notes around all the medication that they were taking, all the details there, so I could have a proper conversation with the nurses. And I like to plan things, so looking at that. But really, one of the things that I put down there is I need to do, and I literally wrote it on my iPad, I need to do something so that no other kid has to go through this, because this is no child should have to go through this torture. And then I wrote it down around an endurance challenge. I want to do a 24-hour endurance challenge to support kids with cancer.
Yeah, right.
And I wrote that down, and now I put that down there and I put that aside, because we had to get him right, and that's an ongoing process over, not just through the chemo and the radiation and what have you, but it's also the follow up, and probably for the next 5 years, to get him into real remission. Yeah. And as so we did that. The Bloody Long Day was born, in concept there, and thinking about my love for triathlon and passion for that sport, but also, my own mindset had shifted to I just want to make a difference, and I wanted to make it a little bit better for other families and their kids. So that sort of fast forward along, and the time needed to be right. We did a few other things, to support, different charities, but got to a point where I needed, myself, I wanted to bring that idea to reality. And it was one thing in saying, I want to do this, or I have this idea, but actually go and do it, like, that's what matters.
Yeah.
So that's where the Bloody Long Day came into play. So, a number of years ago, probably 6 years ago now, I created this event called the Bloody Long Day, where I said I'm going to go and do a 24-hour triathlon, swim, bike, run, non-stop for 24 hours, and I'm going to raise money for kids with cancer. And that's where I made a phone call to the Kids Cancer Project and said, I've got this idea, this is what I'd like to do. Are you okay if I, support you guys? And they've gone, that sounds like a really big challenge. And I've gone, well, yeah. And he said, well, how are you going to do it? And I've gone, well, I have no idea because I've never done it before. But I'm going to do it, and if you're okay, I want to raise money for you guys. So fast forward, I did it, set it up, socialised it, put it in place, and did a 24-hour triathlon. And I thought we might raise, $4,000 or $5,000. That'd be great. And we ended up raising $50,000. The first year.
Yeah.
So then I got great satisfaction in and around that, because more needed to be done, and the reason why I sort of contacted the Kids Cancer Project is the work that they do, and they've got a really clear goal in terms of 100% survival rates of kids that are diagnosed with cancer.
Yeah.
So it was very clear, and they fund the research that enables that goal, that vision to be realised. So I was locked in and committed to that, and wanted to play a little part in contributing to the achievement of that goal.
Yeah. And when you did your first one in 2019, I think.
Yeah.
You finished it down in your gym downstairs, and I think there's a great photo and video of you finishing it.
Yep.
But then talking to everyone about it.
Mm.
How did that feel, seeing all your family and friends,
Yeah.
people from the Kids Cancer Project in and around, and you knowing that you've accomplished something that you put away 8-9 years ago, and you've brought it out and you've accomplished it?
Oh, mate, very, very satisfying. I have strong belief. Like, if I believe in something, then I'm all in, and I'll drive it. But I've got this, it was satisfying to, like, I have this whole mindset. I want to make a difference. I just want to be useful, with my time. And in this case, I can make a choice to do something or not do something. And it was great pride, in that I'd been able to commit to something like that, and do something that I've never done before, and really challenge myself physically and mentally, because it was. And having the people that were really close, to our family there at that time was incredibly, important, and it just reinforced, the support that I know that we've got and that we've had over time, because whatever you achieve or whatever you do, you don't do it, solo. You don't do it by yourself. And I knew that there was a groundswell of support, and that was shown not only with the fundraising that we've done, but just in life in general. I know we've got great support for our family.
Yeah. It's time for another photo.
All right, okay.
Because it's a good segue where you talk about you can't do it by yourself.
Yeah, right.
There's people around you.
Yeah.
I think this photo pretty much.
Oh, yeah.
This isn't from the first year.
Yeah.
But it's at the start of the 2021.
Yeah.
Of the family.
Second another 24-hour triathlon.
What does that photo mean to you? Because this was also very unprecedented times.
Yeah.
COVID.
Yeah.
Doing that challenge.
Yeah. I mean, that's everything to me. Like, that's, my 2 kids and my wife. They're everything to me. So whatever I do, I'm always thinking about them.
Yeah.
In terms of what we do together, how we do it, how they're sort of feeling in and around what they're doing. I'm incredibly proud of them, with the different things that they've done right the way through. But yeah, I mean, that photo was having them there and knowing why we were doing it and why the Bloody Long Day is important to our family. that's a real connection, because we know, all of us in that photo know exactly what we went through, in that pretty tough time, and we know why we're doing the bloody long day, and why we're evolving that bloody long day, and partnering with the Kids Cancer Project, to change lives.
And the bloody long day has now become bigger.
Yeah.
It's become bigger and better.
Yeah.
It's in its 6th year this year.
Yep.
And when did it, I guess, become... So you've done the 24-hour triathlon challenges at the early part.
Yep.
When did it start to become bigger and other people start to then want to do their challenge?
Yeah, so probably after the second year, it was like I had a number of people who'd say, I might come in and do a bit of the run with you. Like I was running, 84 kilometres, within that 24 hours, and they'd say, I'll come and run, excuse me, I'll come and run with you, or I'll come and swim with you, you do it yourself. And then it was sort of, I shifted it in the thinking, well, how do you make this sustainable, and how do you broaden the reach, and network, in and around it. So then I asked the question, well, this is my bloody long day. Not everyone wants to do a 24-hour triathlon. Don't worry, I asked, and I didn't get too many takers. But not everyone wants to do a 24-hour triathlon. But everyone's got their own challenge, their own uncomfortable, sort of feeling. And so I flipped that to be able to say, well, hang on, what's your bloody long day? And, so then we asked people to sign up and say, well, this is my bloody long day. What's your bloody long day? And have a bloody long day to support the Kids Cancer Project, and fund the research that provides the opportunity for us to get that 100% survival. And so we evolved it from there. And the next year, I think we had 16, 17 different individuals and groups join in together, and do their own bloody long day. Someone, like we had people running 10 kilometres for the first time ever, and it was a bloody long day for them. Yeah. I had, people jumping on a spin bike for 8 hours. That was their bloody long day. We had gyms jump in and do a 24-hour row on the rowing machine, as a team. Like, that's their community, getting in. And, what we realised was that people are incredibly generous. They care, for causes that are, that potentially could impact them, because, 3 kids get diagnosed with cancer every day. 3 kids die with cancer every week. And we didn't think it had happened to us in terms of our diagnosis. And when you as a parent, as a family member, and you get told that your child has cancer, then when you feel that and the impact of that, then you want to do something to make sure that no one else has that happen. And I'm really, very fortunate that we've got a good small community of people around the bloody long day who have now, over the last 6 year coming up, have raised $420,000 to go towards that Kids Cancer Project objective. Yeah,
it's an astonishing milestone, because just to think where it started. So back in the hospital, and now it's $420,000 raised. Have you had an opportunity to, I guess, go back and see like kids in that environment and potentially see the positive impact that you could be making on their lives?
Yeah, I've spoken to people as well. I've had different. We've had the opportunity to be at different Kids Cancer Project functions and things like that as well. Spoken to survivors, spoken to the researchers. We know what it means to them, to be able to have that funding to be able to support them, and they've got some incredible minds, coming up with, amazing, research outcomes to do that. But when you speak to the families of people who have either lost their child or have their child as a survivor and are now thriving, you can see it and you can hear it, and you can feel it. You know, the gratitude that they have, and that's incredibly important to us.
Yeah, it's it's truly astonishing, and it's now 2025.
Yeah.
What's your bloody long day going to be? Or what are you thinking about doing this year?
Yeah, well, I always like to do something a little bit different.
Yeah.
So we're already in the planning of that. So it's going to be September this year.
Okay.
September is the Childhood Cancer Awareness Month.
Yeah.
So we do it in September, but the very end of that, I'm looking at doing something that I've never done before, in and around the things that I love, like triathlon and endurance.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm going to do a 1 kilometre swim, a 5 kilometre run every hour on the hour for 12 hours straight. That's my bloody long day challenge that I've been concocting in my mind, and that's what's going to come out to reality. So I'm locked in to do that, and we're going to launch that in a couple of months.
Yeah.
And look for some support and things around it. But I'm also going to challenge people, to come in and do their own bloody long day. So, if they want to run a marathon, that's their bloody long day. But if they want to jump in and do, a 1 kilometre swim and a 5 kilometre run for 12 hours straight on repeat, then I'd love for someone to be swimming in the lane next to me, running, next to me on the track, or joining up as a team, and having, 2 people do it, 4 people do it, 6 people do it, whatever it is. Things are very easy to do, but they're very easy not to do. And I look at it and go, okay, well, if I want to make a difference, then I've actually got to take action and do something. Hopefully more people will do that as well and make that choice, and the bloody long day will be another success in 2025.
Yeah, and so for people that do want to sign up, when will they have that first opportunity to sign up, do you think?
So we're building a website now, and so that'll be released on my Instagram. I'm not great on Instagram, but at Bloody Long Day on Instagram is where we'll build it and announce it, and we'll do it with the Kids Cancer Project in collaboration with them as well. So they'll be very easy to find out. But if anyone's got that that desire to challenge themselves but actually do it for something with purpose, and make a difference, then this is a great opportunity.
Definitely. Well, I guess they all heard it here first, right?
Yeah, that's right.
I think like one area that you touched on at the very start of the episode that has come to reality since is you watching Kona on Channel 9, Wide World of Sports, and seeing that side of it.
Yep.
You in 2022.
Yes.
You had not the opportunity. You did it. You went out. You did the Port Macquarie Ironman Australia race.
Yep.
You qualified for it.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
What was that feeling like, knowing that you've watched it in your childhood?
Yeah.
And you're about to live it out, and you have lived it out.
Yeah.
What was that like?
Qualifying for mate, you just have to go back to my finish line video, and you'll see how pumped I was at that. So I pulled together my best race to date at Ironman that year, and as you say, I was able to qualify for the Hawaii Ironman, and you couldn't take the smile off my face for days afterwards. But I was incredibly proud. I knew the work that I'd put in to get there, and I knew that I was going to have a good day that day. I said to Lisa, I feel good, like I feel real good, and it translated, the work that I'd done into a really good race, and then that translated into a Hawaii Ironman qualifier, which I didn't set out to do that year. I set out to do the best that I could. Just happened that qualified me. I was super excited about it, and when they put that a Hawaiian lei over your head, and you give you the ticket and the token and everything, and say you're going to the Hawaii Ironman, I'm like, how good's this? And then probably a bit of fierce, sort of creeped in there somewhere. A bit of fear, excitement, everything.
Yeah.
Then there was some pretty hard work to do to get there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you get to the lava fields, so to speak.
Yeah.
In Kona.
Yeah.
What was that day like?
Oh, mate. Like, seriously, it was... you know what it did? Like, you're sitting in there in the big island in Hawaii, and it's hot. Like, it's hot. As you say, you're riding through lava fields. But more than that, like, I see the best in the world, and I'm racing on the same course with them as a 52-year-old. And I'm living out a dream here. So I get into the water, and I had this, I get into the water before the swim start, and you've got to swim about 200 metres out to the swim start before the cannon goes off and for your wave.
Yeah.
And I got out there and I actually stopped, and I looked behind me up at the crowd at the whole race precinct, up into the mountains of the big island, and I just stopped there and I just gone, I said to myself, like, just how good is this? This is such an experience that I don't know how today's going to go, but I'm just going to have this picture in my head that I'm here. I'm actually going to do the Hawaii Ironman, and it was just such an emotion of joy, of just satisfaction of where what I've been able to stick at for long enough to actually make this a realisation. And then the gun went off, and I missed the start.
Did you?
Yeah, I missed the start. So I was sitting here having my big, sort of, this is a great, where am I? This is fantastic. And then I missed the start, and I'm like, oh God. So then I've had to swim like literally 150 metres out to after the gun had gone off. Not that it was going to make any difference, but it, it was just, the moment was fantastic. And then then it started, and that was a seriously hard day. It was hot. It was, great, good solid swim, onto the bike, really great bike, and I'm sitting there going, this isn't that bad, like, getting into the lava fields, so I'm going really well here. Yeah. And it wasn't until you turn at the turnaround at Harvey and you come back down and the wind started to pick up and the heat's picking up, and then probably that last 30 kilometres on the bike, you're probably however many 7-8 hours in, and you start to realise that this is hard, and and then you have to get out on the run, and you think it's hot then. Well, the heat down a Leahy Drive and up into the energy lab, right in the lava fields and what have you, and you are cooked. Yeah, and I was cooked. So I had a real tough day. Yeah. But I found a way to that finish line, and I just, memories and experiences, and have my own, my family there, good friends there, family there, like another finish shoot of the Ironman World Championships that I can be satisfied with and brag about for forever.
Well, and you deserve to as well, and that is promptly the next photo that I'm going to show you is that moment. Yeah. Crossing that line, what goes through your mind?
Oh, mate, relief. Yeah. Like it was. I mean, that was a tough day, but I just, after that photo, was literally as I'm crossing the line, and I just saw Lisa and Talia and Cooper right there at the finish line as they are. Yeah. So it was just it meant a lot because I knew what had gone into getting there, and just crossing the finish line, giving it everything that I had to give on that day. Was incredibly. I was incredibly proud, but I was exhausted. I was exhausted. Yeah. But didn't matter. No. It was great.
Because then you just went on a holiday for the rest of it, right?
Well, yeah, I did. Yeah, we had a great holiday afterwards, and was diving with sharks and doing all sorts of different things, and we had a great time. Yeah. But we were there to do that, and the experience that I got was just next level and everything that I had hoped for. Yeah.
It's sitting here chatting to you, it gives me a lot of perspective, and you see things from a great helicopter view of your life and what you've been able to achieve. What's, I guess, using all that experience, what's been the best piece of advice you've either received or you've been able to take on board from someone that you're willing to share with people?
Yeah. It's an interest. I could probably go on for days here, mate. But I won't. Look, it's interesting because I always have that mindset of, show up, be useful, and make a difference. They're the things that stick into my mind, all the time. It's like, you show up. It's not about, it's not about winning or losing. It's actually showing up and committing to what you've said you're going to commit to.
Yeah.
So that's super important for me. Being useful is around more being useful with your time. There's a lot of, choices that you can make, and most of the time you get to choose. So you can choose to do, or you can choose to not do. So for me, it's like, you got the choice. So be useful with your time and make it count, But I think the one thing that I just, when I wrap it all around in here, where I talk about, the bloody long day, or I talk about the Ironman, whether I talk about, a business, we haven't touched too much on that, but that's an important part of this as well. It's like, be great at consistent. Like, there's all these, people wanting to have an easy way here, a little fad here, a shiny new thing here to get to where they need to go. But like, just be great at consistent. That to me just plays out in so many different ways. And there's the intensity of going all in. Whether it be in your training, in your work, in your family, and all in. But you can't sustain that.
Yeah.
You just can't sustain it because it won't end well. But if you can be consistent and you keep showing up, you keep being useful, you keep thinking about the choices that you make, little by little, step by step, you will actually end up with something pretty damn good.
Yeah.
I would say that understand what consistent is for you, whether that be within your work, your family, your training, your sport that you want to do, and just be great at being consistent.
Definitely. There's a couple of final questions to wrap this all up.
Yep.
We've got, from a podcast point of view, we'd love to ask a guest who they would love to see on this podcast.
Yeah, right, okay.
Is there anyone that springs to mind, either triathlon based, is someone that you've watched as a sports person that you'd love to see join the podcast?
Yeah, it's interesting. Probably I would go straight outside of that and not even go into the sport of triathlon or anything.
Yeah.
But you could do can I give you a couple?
Please. Go for it.
Sorry. So yeah, mate, like right now, there's two things that come to mind, and I think about, from a kids cancer perspective. Hey, Owen Finnegan, the CEO of the Kids Cancer Project, he's just brought up 10 years as CEO. So that's a pretty long time as a CEO.
Yeah.
He's a great guy. He's committed. He's passionate. He's got a great team of people. That he works with. They got a lot of belief, and he's got a pretty, a great sporting career as well. But more so, what I know of him, he's incredibly passionate about making a difference, in that space. But the other one, if I go a different way, like athletics, at the moment, I don't know if you saw, but there's a guy, Gout, is just run under 10 seconds, as a 17-year-old. But more broadly than Gout, if you look at Australian athletics right now, there's some fantastic, young sprinters. Raylene Boyle's 48, 50-year record was just broken recently by a 17-year-old, female sprinter in Perth. You look at some of the 1,500 metre runners, young people coming up is incredible. So, something in the athletics side, I don't know what we're doing, but we're doing something really good there.
Yeah.
And the last one that I'll throw out to you, which, aspirational, Bruce McAvaney, from a sporting commentator point of view.
Yeah.
I love listening to him and the stories he could tell, I would imagine, around sport and around Olympic Games and the absolute elite and what he's seen and what he's seen change over the years. I reckon that would be a great listen.
Well, I'll have to hit them up in the DMs and try to slide in there.
That's it. Yeah.
And we've got 2 final questions for you.
Sure.
What is your biggest triathlon ick? Do you know what an ick is?
What's ick?
Ick is kind of like, you see someone do it and go, oh, why are they doing that? Like either in the sport of it or just individually based.
Yeah, right. It's making excuses why they didn't achieve this or why they didn't do this or why their time wasn't this good. That's my ick, if you like. It's like, just own the result that you put down, own the training that you do. If don't make excuses.
Yeah.
You're either doing it or you're not.
Yeah.
That's probably the thing that comes to mind.
Yeah. And then, do you have any pre-race superstitions, things that you fall back on that go, I know my preparation's good to go?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I think there's a couple of things that I look at. Like I look at my, I come back to consistency.
Yeah.
I look for the evidence that gives me the confidence that I'm actually going to perform.
Yeah.
So I and right now is what I'm doing. Leading into my 10th Australian Ironman. I want it to be my best.
Yeah.
So I figure out how I'm going to make it be my best. Doesn't mean I'm going to win. I'm going to do anything in my 8 or whatever. It doesn't matter. It's how can I be my best. So the thing that I always look back on is what's the evidence that tells me. So I search for it. So right now I'm looking to see how consistent I've been. So I know my training program, I'll go back and have a look, and I can tell you right now that for the last 22 weeks, 22 weeks in a row, I have not missed a training session. That's somewhere up around, between, I don't know, call it between 18 and 20, 16 and 20 hours a week, around about 12 to 16 sessions a week. I haven't missed for 22. So I look for evidence that tells me I'm being consistent, because that gives me confidence. I guess the other thing, and a little bit more lighthearted, is I just look for music.
Yeah.
Like I find this thing that I've done the last couple of years in Ironman Australia, where I'll go down to the race site early. I'll check everything in, early in the morning. Then I'll find the hotel just close by that I'm not even checked into.
Yeah.
But I'll go to find that hotel, and I'll find a little corner, in the lobby of the hotel.
Yeah.
I'll put my music in, my headphones in. I've got all my gear there. I'll be by myself, and I'll just put those in, and I'll listen to the music. And sometimes I'll just listen to a song that I love, the sound of, and I'll listen to it on loop over and over and over again for about 45 minutes.
Okay.
And then I'll wetsuit on, get my race gear, and then I'll go and meet my family at the swim start. And I've done that for the last number of years, and I'll do that again this year because it just calms me down, focuses me, brings me back to connecting with the confidence that I've got because of the work that I've done.
So when this podcast comes out, it'll be the week of Ironman.
Yeah.
What do you think that song might be?
Oh, I know what it'll be. It'll be it's what is it called? The bar song, Shabuzi.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. A little bit of country in there, a little bit. The bar song.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So that's what it'll be. That's what it was last year. That's what it'll be this year, and it'll be just on repeat. I just enjoy the song. Don't know the meaning or anything like that. I just love the sounds. That just calms me.
Yeah. Well, Mark, I really appreciate your time. It's really fascinating just talking to you, and I gain a lot of perspective, but kind of selfishly, I always come away from our chats feeling like I can run through a brick wall, so to speak. Like you instill a lot of confidence in the people around you, and I think that can't be underestimated. So
Thank you, mate.
Thank you for the time.
Pleasure.
Go chase that Ironman Legend status this weekend.
Absolutely.
And you truly deserve everything that you have. So
thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you.
Good
Mark.
on you.